Today, we're sitting down with Ghada Benitez, an international real estate powerhouse who've cracked the code on something that most agents find impossible: successfully selling real estate properties across 3 continents. While others focus on local markets, Gigi has built a unique system of collecting American investors with premium real estate opportunities in Dubai and Spain, generating millions in cross-border transactions. Her strategies are so effective that they caught the attention of multiple international real estate boards, leading her to become one of the few agents globally certified to handle complex international property deals. But what makes this story particularly fascinating isn't just the deals she closes, it's how she's leveraging her experience through the Dubai Connect podcast to pull back the curtain on a market that most Western investors misunderstand. Let's dive into how she's bridging these two worlds, and most importantly, what she sees coming in the global real estate market. So welcome to the show, Gigi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to do this international connection with you.
Absolutely. And we were talking a little bit before, we're very similar in many, many ways. We're both in real estate. So talking real estate, talking different cultures, talking building bridges is going to be very, very interesting to learn from you. Let's start there. Like you built this success across real estate, PR, entrepreneurship, multiple countries. What sparked that decision to bridge these different worlds?
Thank you for asking that question because it's actually my passion. It's my whole purpose. So I come from a pharmaceutical sales background, and then for the past 15, well, I should say 17 years ago, I started a PR firm, Ghada Benitez Public Relations. No desire to get into real estate. My degree's in economics from UCSD, but really I just was in sales and, like I said, medical and pharmaceuticals background and PR. Went to Dubai for the first time a little over 2 years ago, and really hesitantly. Even though I am a first generation Arab American, I had my own preconceived notions of what the Middle East was from the American media, what we're fed, born and raised here. So I really didn't have an interest, but one of my best friends kept telling me, come visit, come visit. She actually is pretty high up with one of the master developers on the project management side and said, come visit me in Dubai. So finally, on my way to Turkey, just as a stopover, I said, okay, I'm going to stop by, but just for a few days, just to appease you so that you can travel with me to Turkey, because that was the condition. The second day, the next day I sleep, I wake up and I started crying. I don't know how to explain it to you, but have you been to Dubai?
Yes, I have.
And I don't know, have you been to Iran?
I have as well, yes.
So I've never had the opportunity to be in Iraq or visit Jerusalem where my father was born or visit Jordan where my dad is raised. So being in Dubai was the closest that I ever had to my Middle Eastern root. And I didn't even know until I was almost 50 years old what that feeling was like and what I was missing out on. So now I'm walking in Dubai and there's that calling, right? Of like, wow. And then I realize what Dubai is doing with regards to being really the city of the future that's almost a utopia, and that it's pulling 85% of Dubai are made up of expats, all different religions, all different cultures, all different backgrounds, living harmoniously, safely, and there was the real estate opportunity. So really, the reason why I got into real estate is there's a much bigger purpose for me. It's demystifying Dubai through my eyes as a first generation Arab American and helping to create that bridge between North America and Dubai, and real estate is my vehicle. So yes, I got my certification as a certified international property specialist. I got my license in California, started selling real estate in California to understand it, and then immersed myself in the real estate world of Dubai, spending weeks, months at a time there, and really understanding the way that it works, the processes, who the big players are, who to trust, how, the whole step A through Z, building my network of professionals. But my purpose is so much greater than real estate.
I love that. And I definitely can relate more than you can imagine. Like I went to Iran when I was 18 against my parents', let's say, recommendations. They were very hesitant, but I said I need to know where I come from. I need to know where I'm from. I need to know what's like I just don't feel I am half Ecuadorian, I am half Persian, but that it's like if you're missing half, it's like what
Totally.
what I don't know. And then going there I understand the feeling of like connection, and you're like, okay, this makes sense. And other people look like me and have these funny names that in the
Right.
West are funny, but you go there and they're like, oh, of course. And you're like, that's how I pronounce my name. Like
Well,
it's
all
such
my
a
American friends start laughing at me. They're like, when did you become Ghada? And I said, well, nobody can pronounce Ghada in the United States. And Gigi were my initials for my maiden name, Ghada Ghattas, Ghada Gaddis. So, but now that I'm doing business in the Middle East, it just flows off. It's like,
flows off. Yeah.
yeah.
And then Dubai, I also went no, maybe like 14 months ago.
For your first time?
First time. Very, very, my wife lived there for 25 years.
Wow.
So there was a lot of connection, a lot of familiarity, a lot of her childhood friends. It became like a second home because there's so many people that we know there. And I completely agree with you. I would call it a haven. It's a beautiful place
Yes.
where all cultures can come. It's a place where the Middle East is full of uncertainty. That one is more certain. At least nothing's going to happen.
Mm-mm. Knock on wood. Yep.
And I like this like higher purpose why and then real estate. But I want to go deeper into this why, and perhaps how has your experience in like PR shaped your approach to international real estate deals?
Yeah, so I think with PR, it has helped me because as a publicist, my job for the past 15 years is to take a brand's offering or talent, because I've also worked with talent, and express and communicate their offering to the end user, consumer, whomever it may be, through media and my relationships with media and with celebrities. Knowing that and being an expert at that and doing that for the past 17 years. Now I've been able to do it for my own brand and realizing, I played around with the different mediums because we know normal media is not the way it used to be. So when I first got into PR, it was about getting into the Wall Street Journal, Inc. magazine, Forbes.com. I have clients on the Today Show, Good Morning America, all this. A lot of that's become pay for play. And with the ability to have social media, you're actually able to get directly to that end user that you're trying to reach with your messaging, kind of bypassing media. Although media still has a very strong role if it's earned media and not pay for play in earning credibility. But after spending significant amount of money in different ways of marketing what my offering was, found out that really for me, the Dubai Connect podcast that I've created on YouTube has been my tool of reaching that end client. So obviously that's me understanding media, and that's me understanding that my purpose is to uncover what end users' needs are, uncover what their potential objections are, whether they're transparent about it or they're hidden objections, overcome those objections if they are, and to check in. And the one thing I will say I have held back on is that when I was in pharmaceutical sales, I was in pharma sales for about 7 years. And then I was rookie of the year, sales over the quarter several times. I was promoted to regional sales trainer. I was a guest trainer in the head office in New York. So I know how to do sales really, really well. I know all the steps. I know how to train people on sales. But some people look at real estate, and I understand as a sales position. For me, I am not actually looking at it as sales. I'm not interested in selling. I'm interested in, I saw what was missing, which is an American based person with a foothold here in America to build the trust and confidence of North American based investors so that they don't miss out on the opportunities in Dubai real estate, and being a guide, an educator, a confidant, a source, not hard sales the way, let's say, I was when I was in pharmaceutical sales, and certainly not selling the way I did and I do in PR, where I'm really trying to sell the media on covering my client's story. I know how to step it back and say, look, here are all. Okay, so what I did is, for example, is I went back and I asked all investors, what do you want to know? What is it that's preventing you from participating the way the rest of the world has in Dubai real estate? Okay, and I started taking notes. Everything that an investor wants to know. And it was like I went on a treasure hunt in Dubai to uncover all of those answers and then put them out on the Dubai Connect podcast to answer. So when a new client comes to me, hopefully they've already gone through many of my podcasts, and they're not coming to me to sell. they're coming to me to say, we're ready. This is our budget. We trust you. Guide us, because not only am I going to help find them the appropriate investment opportunities based on their goals, but help guide them through my network of international tax accountants, international tax attorneys, property managers, time the sale of the property when it's time to sell, being more of like a portfolio manager and a guide versus a salesperson. And so I guess I pull all that sales and PR together, but not aggressively as I did in my previous roles and positions, because this is not about making money for me, although I understand that is what it's about for my investors. For me, it's that higher goal of demystifying it. You think Dubai is not safe because it's the Middle East? Actually, let me tell you about the DLD and the Real Estate Regulatory Agency. You're worried about a bubble? Actually, let me share with you the most recent study findings from the UBS Bubble Index. You're worried about scams? Actually, let me share with you what this attorney came on. I actually have the Dubai Land Department. I think I'm the only American agent that's ever had them on my podcast to share the regulations that are in place to protect you as an investor. So I don't know, it's just pulling that all together. But for me, it's always that inside goal of Dubai is doing it right. It is an example of the way cities should be all over the world. And it's proven in the numbers. I mean, you could just look at what happened in 2024 and the population expansion and tourism. And you have Brits as the number one buyers. You have Europeans, you have Canadians, and Americans are slowly starting to climb. And I mean, I know that, for example, with a few developers, I'm the one who's brought the most American investors to them. And that gives me immense pride, not because it's ticking, because I already had a lucrative business with my PR business, but because it's giving me pride that I'm introducing people and making them feel more comfortable to participate in that city of the future.
Wow. I connect with you in so many ways, especially the building the bridge through education. You are teaching people and demystifying something that perhaps seems far away. And I think one of the biggest lessons from my first time in Dubai was the difference between perception and perspective, and how different it can be. Like I do the same that you do, but I
Okay.
bring Middle Eastern money and Latin American money to US real estate.
Okay. So the
And
opposite,
go
basically.
ahead. The opposite, exactly. And I have to do exactly what you do, which is that when you're there, you're like, some people say like the US is going down or the dollar is not working anymore. You know, these situations come up when you think, hey, why do they think like this? And it's the difference between perspective and perception. But I am very curious about your podcast and like what key insights about these like are your listeners most surprised about? What can you teach us?
Well, first and foremost,
Although I do recommend people go watch it,
thank you.
but definitely give us
Thank
some
you.
insights.
Definitely. I mean, you could just look at the ones that have really resonated the most with people organically have been topics about the market outlook. Is Dubai facing a real estate bubble? What is the truth with regards to the numbers? I think the most surprising things that I've had a little bit of a challenge overcoming is understanding that the process is very different. It's a very fast moving market. So really helping people understand this is not the way it is in California, where you go to see a property, you go back and speak to the wife, and then you come back and look at brochures, and then you come back a week later and look at it again. No, 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 no. That's not like that. Especially if you're investing in top tier developers. You have to do all your homework about what is it you're looking for? What is your purpose? Long-term rental returns, short-term rental returns. And I talk about property management with a property management company. Are you going to secure financing? I have, a mortgage broker on there. Which developers have the best reputation for high capital appreciation and rental returns? I have that. What are the top upcoming areas? We talk about that. And then come and let's jump, because especially with the top tier developers, if you are sitting and waiting once I let you know that a launch is happening, you've already missed out, because you have, some say 20,000, some say 50,000 real estate agents in Dubai. You have 200 units being launched at a time. All of us are competing,
Frenzy.
right?
Yeah.
And really, Dubai based real estate agents, and I'm making an overgeneralization, they're so lucky and they've been so blessed and spoiled with the business coming from everywhere else that if a North American calls them with our typical skepticism and questions, they're gotta go. I have I have this Chinese, this Russian, this Indian, this Pakistani, this British in line with their cash, ready to buy. They're not asking me all these questions. So I'm trying to get ahead of it, answering all those questions ahead of time, and then explain to them it is not a sales pitch when we tell you that if we share with you there's an upcoming launch with Emad, for example, the largest developer in the UAE, that there are going to be a couple hundred units launched. There are thousands of people that want those units. So you must submit what's called an EOI. And that's challenging for Americans to get used to because it means sending your passport digitally to a developer. They're probably not getting on the airplane and going out there. This is done digitally. And a deposit. It is a fully refundable deposit, but a deposit nonetheless. So money is leaving their bank account, and it goes into an escrow account that's managed by the real estate regulatory agency. But explaining that process is brand new to so many Americans because the way we do real estate, let's say in California where I'm licensed and sell, versus Dubai is completely different. And if you want to play in that role, in that game, in the Dubai, you have to play by their rules. They're not playing by your rules. So on the Dubai Connect, I really go through bringing experts, whether it be an attorney, an accountant, like I said, the Dubai Land Department senior advisor, property managers, financial concierges, other agents, top tier developers, so I can lay it all out for someone. Really, it's a one-stop shop of answering all the major questions. What's left then is, okay, I'm ready. What opportunities are coming up? Here's my budget. Here's my purpose. Whether they want the golden visa, for example, whether they want to rent it out, whether they want to use it themselves and then have short-term rental at some point, understanding how that works. So it depends on the buyer. Buyers from the UK tend to already understand what's happening. Canadians are quicker, but Americans from the USA, it's just repeatedly making them feel safe, the safety. I think that's the number one concern. And once we overcome that, then it's exciting because if you look at just the numbers, the track record, which we share often, the market record of what's happening every quarter, but the projections, and you look at it and price per square foot, capital appreciation opportunities, no property taxes. I mean, you're in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so property taxes, so there are just so much that they're like, is it true? There are no taxes. But of course, as you know, as an American, we still have to report our worldwide income. So there's still that, but you're just not making that type of money investing in real estate right now in North America.
And these opportunities are especially residential, or what type of structures?
Yes.
Because I completely agree. It's there's more, I'm going to call it translation or transliteration or untangling the spaghetti, because we talk the same language. It's just different real estate language, but it's just differently approached. In the US, you can do different structures.
Correct.
And I've been there talking when I say, in the US, you could be in a co-GP position in the same project as Blackstone, but then, and they're like, what do you, like, what,
Right.
what are you talking
You have
about?
to walk them through the process.
So are the opportunities that you are offering mainly residential, or is there like an opportunity to invest in the developer, or how does it work?
So mainly off-plan projects, which are pre-construction. And I know you're familiar with that in Florida, but that's another part of educating most, because that's not very common, let's say in California. Being able to invest in a property pre-construction, place your 20% down on, let's say, a high-rise, a villa, a townhouse, but they're residential, and typically 20% down, and then over the 3 years, which is the typical construction period, making payments through an escrow account. Again, that's managed by RERA. Everything's done digitally. And then right before handover, before it's even completed, unlike I believe how it is in Florida or Canada, you can actually resell that property before taking over ownership. So before that final payment is due upon handover, you can resell it. And up until now, the numbers are about 30-40% capital appreciation upon handover. That's a sweet spot. So,
In 3 years, or 30% per year?
30%, well, some are much greater, but 30%, we would say conservatively speaking, have been the capital appreciation, conservatively speaking, is what we project over 3 years. But of course, if you look like, for example, at EMART, it's 70 to 100%. But of course, that's going to have to slow down a little bit. It's impossible to keep going at that continued rate of growth, right? Of price per square foot increase. Depends again, which area. Are you getting into, let's say, Dubai South? That's really at the low pricing. Are you getting into Port Rashid Yachts and Marina? Or are you getting into Emaar Beachfront, which is already an established area? So that's what we work with each client or what their purpose is. But the off-plan projects is what my primary focus in, because that's the one that makes the most sense for most investors. If somebody is coming and saying, I need to move there right now and I have a property, I want resell, I have this cash, I need it working for me right away with rental income, then we look at the resale market. But in the resale, you're walking in having to pay the premium of that original owner. So that's going to cut into already your profit margin as far as capital appreciation, but you'll be able to make immediate rental income. So that's where it really depends on the client, but the majority of mine have been off-plan projects.
Nice. And definitely see the potential. Um, you've also worked, we mentioned California, Dubai, but also you do work in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is like the most, like I said in my introduction, this is like the enviable of all real estate agents. Is most of them are hyper localized, which is a great strategy as well. But being able to do multiple, 3 continents, what cultural differences have impacted you the most in your business strategy?
Cultural differences. I mean, dealing in Dubai has been very different because the way people in Dubai do business is very different than the way people in US do different, which is very different than the way people in Spain do business, which I had learned when I secured my certified international property specialist designation. And it's the only internationally recognized designation by the National Association of Realtors. But until you have experience, you don't really grasp it. Every country, every culture has its own way of doing business. So let me just give you an example. In Dubai, nobody does emails. It just doesn't happen. Everything's done via WhatsApp. And when I was doing business in the United States, nobody even has WhatsApp. They don't even know WhatsApp. Okay? Sending your passport. We in the US, most Americans don't even have a passport, or we put it away in our safe. And maybe if we travel once every 3 years internationally, we pull it out. But everything in Dubai is done with your passport. Now, in Spain, which is where I'm actually from right now, which is why this is not the prettiest studio, I'm here really opening up an office down here on the Costa del Sol. We know that Americans are buying here significantly. Actually, they just ended the Golden Visa program. They just announced the end of the Golden Visa program. But it's, a dream for so many Americans, the European dream. I understand it. I love the Costa del Sol. It's very much the same climate as I have when I'm in California, topography, the weather, the beautiful water, everything. As far as real estate goes, Estepona, Marbella, Malaga, we're seeing Americans absolutely wanting to invest and buy here. They do business very differently here as well. It's not as regulated. So
Interesting.
if an investor is coming to me from a purely investment perspective, right now, until I have more confidence, it's Dubai, because Dubai has that safety and regulation comparable to America, right? So you have that RERA overlooking all real estate transactions. There really isn't a body overlooking all real estate transactions in Spain. They don't really have the anti-squatter laws the way that Dubai has. I mean, well, even we've seen Airbnb issues in California and nightmare issues in California. That's not an issue in Dubai. So it really is understanding the way everyone does business. I think the regulations are important. Price per square foot, the opportunities are similar on the Costa del Sol as they are in Dubai. The growth is similar. And actually, Spain's economy is doing so much better than it was. One of the strongest economies in Europe. Weather-wise, it's like California. It's absolutely beautiful weather. Whereas in Dubai, we have the summer, which is a little bit of an issue in Dubai. But as far as doing business and regulations and feeling super confident with investor that's looking for investment, it's hard to beat what Dubai is doing. If you're looking to move and live and have a second vacation home in the summer, and you want that European lifestyle and you want to be 1 or 2 hours from Paris, London, Rome, then it's the Costa del Sol. So it really depends on what the needs and the wants and the desires of that investor is, right?
Exactly. And this is incredible because I think what you're doing is positioning yourself as a confident or as a advisor of how to invest abroad for Americans, or how
Exactly.
to have second homes outside of the US, which is a big hurdle. And most people, they do have the let's say, the European dream. And I have a butchered statistic that like Italy became one of the most expensive places because of American tourists after certain like TV shows come out, and then it floods with Americans, and then you can't even buy a gelato for how it used to be.
Have you been to Italy, by the way?
Yes, yes. My wife is half Italian. So
God, I love Italian or Sicilian.
she's Italian. She's from
Okay,
the
you
north.
know they try to differentiate, but it's the
I know.
same.
Well, it's
Okay,
like the it's
sorry.
like the Persians and the Arabs and the
Totally.
Jews, and they are like, we're not the same.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, we all eat hummus.
Right.
It's the same. But what convinced you to go to these global markets? Like, what is the focus of saying, like, California has amazing real estate. You have the highest concentration of over $100 million homes. You have these like incredible opportunities. You have the Asian wave into California, props up prices. What was the focus of saying, and you mentioned it at the beginning, but what drove you to be like, okay, I want to be this more like global perspective?
So I have a professional and a personal answer.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Both.
Personal answer is that when I was in high school, I was raised by a very, very strict father, very strict Middle Eastern and Arab father, and I was never allowed to do anything outside of school. And I remember studying in our humanities AP class senior year, the De Medici and all the story that happening in Florence and Italy. And then the whole class that summer went to Italy on a trip, and I didn't get to go. And so I said, I will spend, as soon as I'm allowed to, I will travel as far as I can, as much as I can, with every penny that I can, because that feeling of missing out just really shaped the rest of my life. So I am personally obsessed with travel. Love, since my kids, by the way, I have 3 children. I have an older daughter who's 31 years old, who just moved to Manhattan and lives in New York and is doing medical sales. I have a second daughter who's 20 years old, who's studying in Chicago. And I have a son who's 18, who is studying in San Diego. Since they were 4 or 5 years old, every summer it was, not only did we go to another European country, but I would make them 6 months in advance study how to say the basic phrases in their language to learn how to not be that typical arrogant American that travels and expects everyone to speak English, but to really travel, absorb. All my children have studied abroad. They all speak multiple languages. It's only now that I've discovered the Arabic part of me. So I've personally always been fascinated by travel. And the minute I got my first great paying job in pharmaceutical sales, I had an Italian, Sicilian best friend, and I bought her a ticket, and she and I went for 3 weeks exploring all through Italy. And that's just my personal drive. Professionally, California is incredible. Beautiful real estate, very high net worth, gorgeous houses, but it's extremely expensive to get into. Airbnb has become more difficult, if not impossible, not only in California, but other top markets around the country and in Canada and here in Spain, in fact. I don't know if you've been hearing about what's happening in Airbnb.
Yes.
So, from the opportunity standpoint, if you look at the top global markets, I mean, Dubai was the fastest growing over the past year of price per square foot. So, and then Spain, we know it's that European dream. So, personally, I've always been driven to explore the world, but then professionally, it's about opportunity. And then again, when I went to Dubai and realized that Americans were missing out on what the rest of the world had already caught on to about Dubai. And they weren't even in the top 10 buyers. Why? I wanted to understand why. And when I heard the same word over and over and over with every savvy real estate investor that I asked, and they would say trust. It was having a trusting person based here in the United States that we know is not going to run away or is not just telling us something and then 3 months later we can't find them in that office because they're in Dubai and we're not getting on a plane to go out there. And I said, okay, that's what it is. It's that trust. And Ghada Benitez is already a trusted brand in that I'm the publicist. You know, I have a degree. I'm based in California, family born, raised, educated there. I've set myself, I can't run away anywhere. And I was able to meet that need and that desire. So I do feel, I cannot believe I started a new career again at almost 50 years old, but I also feel like I'm living a dream. So it's like both of them at the same time. I just almost like that little girl sitting in that humanities class crying, saying, I can't believe I'm not going to Italy. Now, boo boo, I'm selling Italy. You know what I mean? I can sell Italy, I can sell Spain, I can sell Dubai. And so it's just, That's the personal little draw for me.
I love it. And I completely understand. It's incredible how the world today works. And people sometimes feel that hyper local is one way to go, like I said before, but global is so much bigger and it's so much more rewarding. And I would say that you said that California real estate is very expensive to get into. Global real estate is also very expensive to get into. You cannot do like you have to choose your lane, but what you're doing is a lot harder in many senses. And that's why it's harder in the sense that I find it the road less traveled. So I definitely praise your effort and
Thank
what you're
you.
doing. It's really
Thank you.
building that bridge.
Thank you.
And I want to piggyback on what you just said about your brand, personal brand, and how you've already established yourself. What has been your most effective strategy for connecting with high net worth international clients?
Putting it all out there, being able to put all the information out there, being extremely transparent, but being educated with what I'm speaking of. I think the most important thing, and this is where I've had a little bit of a struggle with real estate agents in America that reach out to me and say, I want to do what you're doing. And what I want to say is, why? Oh, because we know there's money in it. Guys, if I were to tell you how much money I've spent in the past 2 years building this business, or 2.5 years, would you really still want to do this? Because I've left my family for months at a time. I've invested in billboards. I've invested in Facebook, in Google, in Instagram, in brochures that go out, in webinars, in seminars, in my podcast, in videos, in my editing. I mean, my Instagram is full of content. So this is not, I would have potentially just been making the profit margins in California and not had to worry about building a whole new world and leaving my family and sacrificing. So if your only drive to start understanding Dubai real estate is money, please don't do it from the United States, because you need to be educated in everything. If someone comes to you and all you know is one developer or two developers, you're not being fair to that client. And if all you know is how to sell them one property, you're not being fair to that client. How are you going to, for the next 3 years, let them know when is the best time to resell that property? How are you going to connect them with an international tax attorney or tax accountant? How are you going to help them with their property management if they're looking to rent it out? How are you going to constantly keep them informed of the regulations? So being educated in this topic is one of the most important things that I've done that I think has built my brand, is the credibility factor of not only that I educate myself, but I am partnered with a real estate agent who's been doing real estate for 20 years in Dubai. And he's my feet on the ground at all times. Like, while I'm opening the Spain market, I'm going to Dubai next week to film season 5 of the Dubai Connect podcast and meet with developers. But I'm in Spain this week. He's there, our client's there, he's there at all times, constantly. So there's always somebody in Dubai. So building my brand has been about building credibility, about information, being a source of credible resource for information, and not just trying to make a quick sell with the cheapest development and the cheapest property just so I can make a commission and add, because sometimes I have a conflicting feeling when I see those Instagrams that say, oh, record sales for the month, oh, I sold the most for the month. And coming from sales, I said, okay, well, that's about you. But where's that about helping the client? Because if I were a client and I were on your Instagram and all I'll see you is ringing a bell because you just sold another $10 million property, I'd be like, oh, so is that what's in it for you? Or is it that because you really have a desire to help and guide me through me being able to ring my own bells and making money? So I think that that's what I've done, is build this trust with, and I mean, I've been on doing my YouTube now for quite a while, invested heavily in my video and my podcast. And as people search organically for information and they come across my very high level interviews with high level, educated, intelligent people in Dubai to help explain, that has built my brand of credibility as the Dubai Connect.
Very powerful. I do agree with you that this education first and being mindful of your customers is incredibly important, because out of those, I forgot the number of agents, I think you said 50,000 agents for 200 units. There's going to be so many people that are just chasing a quick buck, or maybe
Correct.
seeing that people that you don't do anything, you just sit here and these things sell by themselves. So you kind of like, it's free money, but it's not really that when you're doing something for a higher purpose. And as a real estate broker, I think the ones that are the most rewarding is not the first sale, it's like the 10th sale, it's the 14th sale, it's the 20th sale. Like, this is a real estate is, I usually tell my friends and family that when they ask me like, why do you do real estate investing? And I say, when you learn it, why would you do anything else? I just find it's super lucrative. It's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly leveraged. It has all the tax benefits. So it's really, really important tool. And I completely agree with you. And I love that you mentioned this differentiation of how to spot perhaps someone that's aligned with you and someone who isn't. Let's go to your personal investments. Let's look at how you look at investments. Because one thing is, how do you advise people, and you look at their objectives, and you mentioned your process or a little bit of your process before, but how do you do it for yourself?
Make sure to work and align yourself with experts. This is actually not just for investing. This is for every business that I've ever created. Don't pinch pennies and try to do everything yourself. Because if you have the longer game and the longer goal in mind, align yourself, work with people, pay people to do what they do best, to guide you in what you don't know. So I think that's in real estate investing, and my personal growth in all of my businesses is there are those people. For example, if you, Ahmed, wanted to, you could probably go directly to a developer and purchase directly from them and think, oh, I bypassed Gigi. I now know. I just spent an hour and a half on the phone with her. I've watched all her podcasts. She shared me what the best developer is right now, which the best project is. I'm going to go directly to them. I'm going to bypass her. I'll probably get a little discount. Well, first of all, you're not going to get a discount if you're dealing with top tier developers. They're not going to discount you going directly from them. But that short-sighted, penny pinching mentality will bite you in the butt later on. Because, okay, now you have a property in Dubai. What are you going to do with it? And so that's how I think of everything in my life. I pay people to be experts of what they are, to guide me, advise me, educate me, and I do what I do best. And so I think that's a principle that I carry in all of my businesses. And I think if you actually read I'm sure you do, if you read the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, they'll always tell you that as well. Realize where your time is best spent, and then pay and hire out for those that can address the items you don't know how to take care of, or it's not the best use of your time. Don't be greedy, because in the long run, having the best experts around you and looking at the long run, it's a more strategic decision to align yourself with people that know what they're doing and they can advise you properly in any real estate, but in any arena of your life.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I do the same. I teach everything I know. I'm an open book, but you still need me because I say, doing it. One thing is knowing how to do it, or knowledge, but then there's the wisdom of how to implement.
And the relationships.
And that's the other thing.
Right?
It's like, you can learn everything, you can have the money, but if you don't know the people, it's the same as nothing.
And when you
I
were
think that's
asking me
what I've learned.
earlier about the difference in doing real estate in all these different areas, it's relationships.
People.
And that takes time. That takes time to build. That takes an investment of your time, of your life, to sit down and have people trust you and look at you, so that I can call a financial concierge to help my client open a bank account, or I can easily call the top mortgage broker in Dubai to help a client that really needs financing for this project. Or, I can call a top tier developer and say, do you have something on the cancellation list? Please prioritize it for my client. He's ready to buy this property right now. Those are relationships. So those are built over time.
For sure. 100%. This is a gold nugget, I think, is prioritize relationships, but also don't discredit the experts around you. Like, no man is an island, no woman is an island. You need to be with people, and that bridge is built, what you mentioned before. You have your partner in Dubai, boots on the ground. You have your people in the places where it matters the most. Someone just needs to make a call, and they have that leverage
Yep.
That it's not only leverage money, it's leverage experience, leverage having
Exactly.
people in
To
both
maximize
places.
your investment. I mean, this is a lot of money. People are trusting to send their money across to a whole other country. That's a huge decision to make. So make sure you're aligning yourself with someone that's going to help you pass that first purchase for the post-sale service of helping manage time, build your portfolio. I have a client says, "Hey, GJ, just got my OCUD. I'm ready to get my golden visa. What are next steps?" Boom. Here, you're connected with the person to help you with their golden visa. I mean, it took me 2 seconds. But if you start Googling, you start researching it, it's incredibly confusing online. If you start, I mean, these clients will come to me and I can already tell they probably talk to 10 other agents before they come to me. And I'm starting to get better and better at reading them. And they'll get really upset when I say, I can tell you're talking to many different agents. It's not the best of use of my time or best use of your time. They'll say, "Oh, that's so rude of you." Well, here we have what the buyer broker agreements. That's not really a standard way of doing business in Dubai. So it's up to us to have that courage to say, this has been years of me establishing this expertise. I can access the same, if not better than the people you're talking to, but I'm not going to continue to spend time on the phone, guiding you when you're talking to 10 other people.
Right. Let's look at 2025 and perhaps the next few years. What market excites you the most? What are you really looking forward to, and what are you working on?
Dubai, Habibi, Dubai. And being in Spain has persuaded me of that even more. I'm going to continue to really immerse myself in educating myself in the processes in the south of Spain. I've already had people contact me and say, "Look, we want a property in Marbella. We want a property here and there." And I am aligned with real estate agents here who've been doing real estate for 20 years, and it's an easy connection. Boom, they know what they're doing. But I have a passion for the Costa del Sol. It's incredibly beautiful. So I will continue to educate myself until I feel comfortable enough to go out there. And I actually have already softly launched the Spain Connect. But if you're just looking at numbers and you're looking at opportunities and you're looking at price per square foot and projections and growth and what I said before and trust, it's Dubai. It's Dubai. So and Americans are just finally starting to climb that list and finally starting to understand. So all the work that I've been placing in for the past couple of years to establish Ghada Benitez International and the Dubai Connect is finally starting to come through. And crazy enough, right after the elections, it was my record number of sales. And I don't say that to brag about the sales, but to say that that's shows the investor confidence from North Americans about Dubai and probably wanting a little exit strategy.
This was wonderful. You really gave so many insights. It was wonderful to have you on the show, and I definitely want to have more conversations offline, keep in
Sure,
touch.
definitely.
Definitely interested in real estate, so we talk the same language. I'll keep tabs on you and see what we can do together. I'd love to finish the podcast by saying what inspires you in your work that you do today.
What inspires me in my work is that I have 3 children, including 2 daughters, that are always looking up to me. So, what I am inspired constantly is that there's no ceiling too high, there's no dream too big, and that no matter what that dream is from, like, told you that girl in the high school class, that it may not show up in the same exact way, but you can't, if you just keep doing the work, not the easy, lazy way out, not the cheap way, and you keep doing the work, that little girl, look up, you can do it, and just take pride in being an honorable person that's creating bridges.
I love it. Can't finish in a better high note. Thank you,
Thank
Gigi,
you,
for being on the
Ahmed.
show.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thank you.